the magnet in you understanding the law of attraction, Saturn Brown at the beginning. See things you want as already yours. Know they will come to you at need. Then let them come. Don't fret and worry about them. Don't think about your lack of them. Think of them as yours, as belonging to you, as already in your possession. Robert Collier is a child growing up in a rural area in Florida. I had lots of time to sit and think about the world around me. Sometimes, I imagined being the only person on Earth and how that felt. In my mind, I traveled through great distances of colored lights. I did not know I was experiencing deep meditation. Unaware of the law of attraction, which I will explain later, I did manifest my dream of getting a bike. My parents were having tough times with paying the bills and I knew they would never purchase a bike for me. I did not visualize the bike, but I kept asking for it, pretending it was on the front porch waiting for me. About a month later, a neighbor gave me a 26-inch bike. It was old, but I loved it immediately. Unfortunately, I did not know how to ride it. Since the bike was really for an adult, it made the task to learn to ride much harder. For several nights, I dreamed of riding my bike on the dirt road near my home. I imagined the wind blowing through my blonde hair and the sun on my back as I rode it. One day my mother helped me get on the bike and gave me a push. I felt her hand on the small of my back. I continued down the road wondering how mother was keeping up with me. When I glanced over my shoulder, I fell off my bike. Mother was not with me. She was in the yard watching me. Who had helped me? At that time, I did not know I had helped myself. I grew up in a dysfunctional family. My father was World War II disabled veteran suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. My mother was a war bride, a native of Canada. She experienced difficulty in understanding the Southern lifestyle. Mother always said when you understand the climate you can understand the people. She hated the climate. She disliked most people. Mother was very thrifty with money. As such, we learned to make do with what we had. The idea of acquiring something more than what we could afford was considered wishful thinking by Mother. As a forefather, he believed in the impossible. He knew one day he would get better and he did. He just did not know it would take more than 30 years, because he did not request a timeline. In using the law of attraction, one must be specific in what one wants. One must be grateful for what one has despite how small or trivial it may seem. One of the great teachers of the law of attraction is Jack Canfield. The power of visualization. Jack Canfield: decide what you want. Believe you can have it. Believe you deserve it and believe it's possible for you. And then close your eyes and every day for several minutes, and visualize having what you already want, feeling the feelings of already having it. Come out of that and focus on what you're grateful for already, and really enjoy it. Then go into your day and release it to the universe and trust that the universe will figure out how to manifest it. Jack Canfield lived in a dysfunctional family. Both of his parents were alcoholics. His father abused him. Jack lived with low self-esteem, but somehow managed to become successful regardless of his upbringing. Jack graduated from Harvard. He earned a master's degree in education from the University of Massachusetts. He went on to become a high school history teacher. In 1976, Jack Canfield experimented with a visualization tool, known as the abundance check. At that time, Jack was earning around $8,000 per year and visualized making $100,000 by writing himself a check for that amount. He taped the check to the ceiling of his bedroom, so that every morning upon waking and every evening before going to sleep, Jack imagined he would receive a check in that amount. Within that year, after a sequence of coincidental events, Jack published his first book, 100 Ways to Enhance Self-Concept in the Classroom. His earnings for that year were only a few thousand short of his $100,000 target. Jack Canfield did not stop there. He used the same method to attract $1 million. In 1990, Jack shared his vision of publishing 101 inspirational stories with his partner, Mark. The manuscript of stories remained untitled, until he visualized the image of his grandmother's chicken soup and remembered how she told him it would cure anything. This book would have the same healing powers as that soup, not for the body but for the soul. The book was called Chicken Soup for the Soul. In the first month, 33 of New York's biggest publishing houses turned it down. Jack and Mark's manuscript was rejected by 140 publishers. To make matters worse, their agent told them he could not sell the book and gave the manuscript back to them. In 1992, Jack and Mark attended the American Booksellers Association convention. There, they went from booth to booth talking to editors and sharing their vision of how their book would uplift humanity by helping people open their hearts, rekindle their spirits and give them the courage to pursue their dreams. They left a copy of their manuscript with Peter Vegso, president of Health Communications, Incorporated, who caught the spirit of the book and soon agreed to publish it. The first Chicken Soup for the Soul books were published on June 28, 1993, and had become a Christmas favorite by the end of December. People who bought one book returned to buy 5 more copies as Christmas gifts. Word of mouth led to a great demand for the book. By April of 1994, Chicken Soup for the Soul had made some of the bestseller lists, and by September it had hit the bestsellers lists of the New York Times, The Washington Post, Publishers Weekly and USA Today, as well as 5 major lists in Canada. In 1995, Chicken Soup for the Soul won the prestigious ABBY, American Booksellers Book of the Year, award based on the books that booksellers most enjoyed recommending to bookstore customers. Later, the book won the Book of the Year award from Body, Mind and Soul magazine. In 1996, a second helping of Chicken Soup won the Storyteller World Award for the best anthology of stories. In addition, this book was the winner of the American Family Institute's Non-Fiction Literary Award. Jack Canfield and Mark Hanson hold the prestigious title of the Best-Selling Authors of the Year by USA Today for both 1997 and 1998, selling more books during these 2 years than any other authors in America. With 80 million copies sold, Chicken Soup for the Soul has made international publishing history. Jack Canfield keeps a framed copy of $1 million check written to him by his publisher reminding him of the law of attraction. A great deal about the law of attraction can be learned from Jack Canfield. The law of attraction is infinite. You can attract whatever you want if you truly apply the feeling that you will receive it. As for Jack Canfield, he knew what he wanted. He visualized getting it and took small steps to do it. He describes the law of attraction as, think of a car driving through the night. The headlights only go 100 to 200 feet forward, and you can make it all the way from California to New York driving through the dark, because all you have to see is the next 200 feet. And that's how life tends to unfold before us. If we just trust that the next 200 feet will unfold after that, and the next 200 feet will unfold after that, your life will keep unfolding. And it will eventually get you to the destination of whatever it is you truly want, because you want it. How badly do you want something? It does not necessarily have to be for wealth. It could be for bringing someone home. A helpful stranger. What things ye desire, when ye pray, believe and ye shall receive. Mark 11:24. Where was Andrew? It had been 24 hours without a word. I was sick to my stomach, but I managed to get down on my knees and pray. Please Lord send him a guardian angel to guide and protect him. Please bring him back home safely. For a few moments, I remained rooted to the spot on the floor. I needed to believe my autistic son was safe. I felt a warm sensation spread across the top of my shoulders like an arm comforting me. Was it my imagination, or had my prayer been answered? Laura, my oldest, along with Kelly, my youngest, began developing a plan to find Andrew. Laura had called the police department and completed a missing persons report, while Kelly decided to go online and visit Andrew's chat room. When a police detective contacted me by telephone and asked questions concerning Andrew's handicap, I knew I would have a problem. Just because Andrew was autistic, did not mean he had a few loose screws. The detective asked me to describe the clothing Andrew was wearing before his disappearance. It was hard to say, I don't know. Well, who was the last person to see him? Insisted the detective. Don't you have someone keeping an eye on him? I knew it was going to be difficult to explain that Andrew was not mentally deranged and existing on a few IQ points above the vegetative state. In my mind, I saw the following announcement on the 6 o'clock news: warning. Warning. If you see this man, call the crime line, lock you up. I answered both questions, controlling my rising anger. Andrew, who was a college student, was quite capable of fixing his own breakfast, getting dressed and riding the city bus to college. The only information I had for the detective was Andrew had left a note on the piano stating he would be back in the late afternoon, due to taking a test in the computer lab. Since Andrew had a documented disability, he had been provided special accommodations, such as taking tests which were not timed. Unfortunately, he had to schedule his tests to be taken in the computer lab. Since I knew I could not continue answering the questions the detective asked, I handed the telephone over to Laura and told her to do her best. After all, she was the one who had called them in the first place. Leaving the living room, I walked into the kitchen where Kelly was using the spare computer. My husband, Ronald, was taking a nap in the den where the newer computer was kept. I did not want to wake him, since he was worn out with worry like me. Standing behind Kelly, I watched her send an online message. Quickly, a reply came back and she nearly leapt out of the seat. I made contact, she said. This person thinks I am Andrew and wants to know about my trip to Florida. Florida! I screamed. Kelly turned around and looked at me. Yeah, that's what he says. That's impossible, I mumbled. He doesn't know Andrew. Oh, he knows. Andrew anime and all that, added Kelly. Just be careful, I cautioned, walking away from my 17-year-old. Was it possible? I asked myself. Did Andrew run away? Holding onto the railing, I managed to climb the steps which led to his bedroom. I checked his closet for any missing clothes. The only piece of clothing absent was his grey jacket. Slowly, I walked over to the dresser and pulled out the top drawer. It was almost empty, except for a few stray socks. Shocked. My heart began to race, as I checked the remaining drawers. Andrew had ran away from home. Ronald. Ronald. I screamed at the top of my lungs. I did not care if he was in a deep sleep or not. He needed to see this. After examining Andrew's bedroom, Ronald admitted having an argument with our son. He would have mentioned it earlier, but the argument had taken place a week ago and he did not think there was any connection. Apparently, Ronald had wanted Andrew to help out more around the house. He had compared his lack of accomplishments to his sisters. Laura and Kelly had part-time jobs, numerous friends, and were working towards their career goals. Sadly, I glanced at Ronald. I reached out for his hand and held it. We sat together silently. It was too painful for us to admit we had made a mistake. I had sheltered Andrew, while Ronald was too firm. I had a strong impulse to email Andrew. I knew he would email me back, but how did I know that? He did not have access to a computer, unless he was staying with someone. On the second day, more than 48 hours after his disappearance, I received an email from him. Andrew was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He had run away from home, because of the argument he had with his father. In his email, he explained he was safe. Andrew was supposed to meet someone from the chat group at the bus station, but that person never showed up. Andrew was alone in a strange city, when a homeless man approached him. "Are you destitute like me?" asked a thin, grey-haired gentleman in his mid-50s. Andrew glanced down at the man who was several inches shorter. Well, no. Andrew believed the man might ask him for money. So, he picked up the 2 canvas bags full of clothes and began to walk away. "It's going to get dark soon," replied the man following behind. "It's not safe. You're a walking target, especially at night." Andrew turned around to take another look at the stranger. The man had bright blue eyes and did not resemble any homeless individuals he had met back in Norfolk, Virginia. The man seemed out of place. He seemed special, and perhaps he was. This friendly stranger described how dangerous it was on the street at night, along with sharing a little of his personal life. He told Andrew how fortunate he was to have a family that cared about him. After all, he had no one. Andrew had offered to buy the man a sandwich at a nearby Subway restaurant. The man refused and waited outside, while Andrew went inside to purchase a sandwich and a drink. Believing the man had left, Andrew stayed inside and ate. When he left the restaurant, Andrew hurried back to the bus station to purchase a ticket to go home. Stepping away from the counter after making his purchase, he nearly fainted when he saw the blue-eyed stranger smiling at him. "When will the bus arrive?" he asked. "I have 2 hours," mumbled Andrew. "This is not the best place for you to stay," replied the stranger. "The safest place is the public library." "The public library," echoed Andrew. "Is the one nearby?" "Yes. Just a block away. Follow me," answered the stranger, leading Andrew out the exit. There were accessible computers at the library for a nominal fee. The stranger led Andrew to one of the computers and left. He did not return. 14 hours later, Andrew arrived home to a family who realized how much they loved him. "This painful wake-up call led me to take a chance on finding something to help my son. I mean really help my son. He needed to have a real life. He needed to feel successful and not a burden on his family. I would eventually find a cure for my son's autism through using the magnet within me." Power of the subconscious mind. The story of John Assaraf knowing the law of attraction. I wanted to really put it to use and to see what would happen. In 1995 I started to create something called a vision board, where I take something that I wanted to achieve, or something that I want to attract, like a car or a watch or the soulmate of my dreams, and I put a picture of what I want up on this board. Every day I would sit in my office and I would look up at this board and I would start to visualize. I would really get into the state of having already acquired it. I was getting ready to move. We put all the furniture, all the boxes, into storage, and I made 3 different moves over a period of 5 years. And then I ended up in California and bought this house, renovated it for a year, and then had all the stuff brought from my former home 5 years earlier. One morning my son Keenan came into my office, and one of the boxes that was sealed for 5 years was right at the doorstep. He asked, "What's in the boxes, Daddy?" And I said, "Those are my vision boards." He then asked, "What's a vision board?" I said, "Well, it's where I put all my goals up. I cut them out and I put all my goals up as something I want to achieve in my life." Of course at 5.5 years old he didn't understand, and so I said, "Sweetheart, let me just show you, that'll be the easiest way to do it." I cut the box open, and on one vision board was a picture of a house that I was visualizing 5 years earlier. What was shocking was that we were living in that house. Not a house like it. I actually bought my dream home, renovated it, and didn't even know it. I looked at that house and I started to cry, because I was just blown away. Keenan asked, "Why are you crying?" I finally understand how the law of attraction works. I finally understand the power of visualization. I finally understand everything that I've read, everything that I've worked with my whole life, the way I've built companies. It worked for my home as well, and I thought our dream home and didn't even know it. John Assaraf was born in 1961. He spent his early childhood years growing up in Tel Aviv, Israel. Later, his parents moved to Montreal, Canada. John came from a humble and loving background. His parents could not afford much. When John was 9 years old, he became acquainted with street gang culture. Fortunately, John's life took a turn. At the age of 19, he left home and began his quest to find the mentors and wisdom he sought to live a different life than his parents. Within 2 years, he was mentored by two of the most successful sub-franchisers of real estate offices in the world. These two mentors taught John everything they knew about building successful companies. John became their partner and had the opportunity to turn around a failing RE/MAX region in Indiana. Today RE/MAX in Indiana's 1,450 sales associates sell over $4 billion a year in real estate and earn more than $100 million a year in commissions. John Assaraf is well read in the areas of understanding the power of the mind. In his mid-30s John applied everything he learned about peak human behavior and performance to create Bamboo.com. This internet company was the pioneer in internet virtual tour providers. Within 14 months, Bamboo.com went from 6 employees to over 1,600 with monthly revenues of over $8 million. John contributes his success to these 4 areas of concentration: attitude, forming a positive mental attitude, thinking positively, nurturing your automatic positive thought and diminishing your automatic negative thought. Focus. Concentrated thought increases the amplitude of our positive thought and vibration, making it more likely that we will bring what we desire into our lives. Persistence. Persistence is the fuel to success, to continue to your goal no matter what. Action. Do what you need to do. Take little action and get little results. Take massive action and get massive results. John Assaraf attributes success to the power of the subconscious mind, and he accesses and controls his subconscious thought through concentrated visualization. The higher power. Every thought of yours is a real thing, a force. Prentice Mulford. I believe in a higher power. I do not believe in using the power of attraction or the magnet within you to acquire selfish wealth. I know that wealth is meant to be shared for the common good of mankind. I knew about a higher power lying in my crib as an infant. I remember thinking to myself, darn, I have to go through life again. I was born with my feet turned in. I was born wall-eyed. I had to wear braces on my legs for several years. I had surgery on both eyes, 3 times, before the age of 6. I did not know my life's purpose, but I knew there had to be one. I realized that other stories about the law of attraction indicate that we really do not have a set purpose in life. Our life's purpose is our own choosing. Well, yes and no. It depends if you really want to know your life's purpose. I know mine is to do with writing. My life has been enriched with unexplained encounters with the paranormal. At the age of 2, I had a near-death experience. I had died of double bronchial pneumonia and remember looking down at my own body. A vision of someone in white came to me and told me I would have to go back. I whispered, "It hurts too much." The white figure explained that pain is part of the life you must live. I had another near-death experience giving birth to my first child. I remember crossing over to the other side. I sat with others sitting on white sand. In the distance was a blue sky with a bright light. I remember getting up and telling them I had something to do and would be back. I walked into the shadows and entered my body through a tunnel. Naturally, one would think what I had to do was to take care of my daughter. I knew that was only part of it. My calling was to write. I believe God does answer our prayers if we have a reason for what we ask. We should always be grateful for what we have, regardless of how small it may seem. For example, I am thankful when I see my children happy. I am grateful for a glass of ice or a cup of hot tea. I love getting up before the sun rises, just so I can enjoy seeing the sun's rays above the treetops. As far back as I can remember, there were 3 childhood fantasies I wanted in life. I wanted to live in a 2-story house, work as an educator and become a children's author. All 3 of these desires have come true, but not through continual manifestation. I learned about real gut feelings when my son ran away from home. I was ripped apart, and in this deepest state of complete helplessness was when I really understood the presence of God. It did not matter I had to near-death experiences, because I had accepted God. I just did not know I was part of Him. We are all connected. We are all energy. We are part of God. I remember about 10 years ago, I was having surgery for a cancer growth on my face. It was the second time I had this surgery, and I was worried that the surgeon might have to remove my left eye. I remember thinking, what is my purpose in life? I saw in my mind's eye a bright light. I heard a voice say, your purpose is to continue to write. You will understand later. When I heard the story about the miracle man, and he had heard a voice telling him to breathe, despite his severe injuries, I needed to include him in this book. The next chapter is about Morris Goodman, the miracle man. Nothing is impossible, Morris Goodman, and then you can do and have and be things that people once said that's impossible for you to do and have and be. Morris Goodman's story of the miracle man, as stated by Morris Goodman. My story begins on March 10, 1981. This day really changed my whole life. It was a day I'll never forget. I crashed an airplane. I ended up in the hospital completely paralyzed. My spinal cord was crushed. I broke the first and second cervical vertebrae, my swallowing reflex was destroyed. I couldn't eat or drink, my diaphragm was destroyed. I couldn't breathe. All I could do was blink my eyes. The doctors, of course, said I'd be a vegetable the rest of my life. All I'd be able to do is blink my eyes. That's the picture they saw of me, but it didn't matter what they thought. The main thing was what I thought. I pictured myself being a normal person again, walking out of that hospital. The only thing I had to work with in the hospital was my mind, and once you have your mind, you can put things back together again. I was hooked to a respirator, and they said I'd never breathe on my own again because my diaphragm was destroyed. But a little voice kept saying to me, breathe deeply, breathe deeply. And finally I was weaned from it. They were at a loss for an explanation. I could not afford to allow anything to come into my mind that would distract me from my goal or from my vision. I had set a goal to walk out of the hospital on Christmas. And I did. I walked out of the hospital on my own 2 feet. They said it couldn't be done. That's a day I will never forget. For people who are sitting out there right now and are hurting, if I wanted to sum up my life and sum up for people what they can do in life, I would sum it up in 6 words: man becomes what he thinks about. Morris Goodman's story is truly inspirational for us all. He definitely understood and used the magnet within him. Another individual who learned at an early age about discovering his magnet was Dr. John DeMartini. John was diagnosed as learning disabled. Understanding the magnet, Dr. John DeMartini, I always say, when the voice and the vision on the inside become more profound, clear, and loud than the opinions on the outside, you've mastered your life. Dr. John DeMartini. Dr. John DeMartini was born in 1954 in Houston, Texas on Thanksgiving Day. At an early age, John wore hand and leg braces to correct a birth defect. When he entered school, he had difficulty in learning to read, write and speak. Eventually, he was diagnosed with dyslexia and a speech impediment. In first grade, his teacher told his parents that he would never read, write, communicate, and never amount to anything. At the age of 14, John left school and headed for Hawaii. At 17, he had a near-death experience. These early challenges set the scene for a remarkable transformation in his late teens. John was a high school dropout, unable to read or write when he met a 93-year-old man called Paul Bragg. Paul helped John to awaken an inspired vision of becoming a philosopher and a teacher. John made a commitment to dedicate his life to the understanding of universal laws as they relate to maximizing human potential. Becoming determined and focus is what fuels John's success into mastering reading and writing. He graduated with a Bachelor's of Science degree in 1978 from the University of Houston. He went on to study chiropractic at the Texas Chiropractic College, where he graduated in 1982 at the top of his class. Dr. DeMartini travels over 360 days a year to over 56 countries, where he shares his research and findings across the globe. He is the author of over 40 books published in 14 different languages, along producing numerous CDs and DVDs. Dr. DeMartini states, "When you believe you cannot read or learn and you then discover that you can, it awakens an insatiable appetite for knowledge." When I learned about Dr. DeMartini's life, I reflect my own life. We have a number of similar occurrences. I was born with 2 defects. However, I knew I had to take the first step in learning to walk. I knew I had to endure 3 eye surgeries along with completing daily eye exercises. Something inside of me knew this. In addition, I taught myself to read. I was always daydreaming in class. I remembering sitting in the hallway by the kitchen. My mother was always in the kitchen preparing the evening meal. I would read out loud hoping she would help me. Once in a while she did, but usually I had to figure the words out myself. When it came to writing, I used discarded paper bags with crayons to practice my skills. My dream was to become a famous children's author. Currently, I have been given a contract to write 3 middle-grade chapter books for a private publishing company. I believe that when you are told that something cannot be changed, it becomes more of a passion to change it. When my son returned home after running away, I knew I had to find a way to help him. I knew there had to be a cure for autism. Using the magnet, all we are is the result of what we have thought. Buddha, when it comes to understanding how to use one's magnet or the law of attraction, Esther Hicks, The Teachings of Abraham, explains the process in the following 3 steps. 1. Ask. Start off with what you are grateful for and then ask. Visualize it as if you already have it. 2. Answer. The universe will do that for you. It will rearrange itself to make that happen for you. Anyone who accomplished anything did not know how they were going to do it. They just knew they were going to do it. You will not know. It will attract to you. You will be shown a way. 3. Receiving. You must bring yourself in the alignment of what you are asking for. When you are in alignment to what you want, you feel wonderful. That's what passion is, or joy. If you are feeling despair or anger, that is not in alignment. Go with your good thoughts and it will manifest for you. When I believed that Andrew's autism was something he would always live with, that was a determining factor in creating a state of hopelessness. He had no future. I wanted to believe that he could work around his disability. I was wrong. His neurologist told us that no one knows enough about the human brain to know what one can or cannot do. Those words did not really offer any hope for Andrew having a future, unless one read between the lines. Eventually, the neurologist's statement would become a deciding factor in using the magnet with me. No one knew enough about autism to know what caused it. I believe that it was caused by toxins, such as mercury in the vaccine. Since I believed this, I needed to know of a way to remove it from his body. I focused on finding a cure for Andrew for several months. I had a positive feeling that I would find it. I had heard about people finding unbelievable information on the internet. One day I came across an article about the government using spirulina and sound waves to remove mercury embedded in the ocean's floor. I conducted my own research into learning more about spirulina. I felt very confident that the answer to Andrew's condition could be reversed if he took a daily supplement of spirulina. I learned that spirulina is a natural toxic eliminator and that it would remove mercury from one's system. There was no research about reversing signs of autism by taking supplements of spirulina. Yet, I had an overwhelming feeling that this was the answer I was seeking. In January 2007, Andrew began taking a daily supplement of spirulina from Now Foods. I chose this company because it felt right to me after reading about their company. I took the supplement, too. 4 months later, I began to notice changes in Andrew. His communication skills improved along with his ability to focus. He appeared calmer. As for me, I no longer live with gingivitis. No more deep cleanings for me. In August 2007, Andrew petitioned the college to allow him back on probation. His college advisor strongly recommended that Andrew request for accommodations and auxiliary aids. Andrew refused. He said he did not need them. Furthermore, the advisor informed Andrew he could only return on a part-time basis. Andrew did not say anything. He knew he would register as a full-time student. It has been 3 semesters and Andrew has maintained all as. To share his story with others, I wrote the following book, Green is the Cure, Everything You Wanted to Know About 504 Plans, EPs, Hidden Disabilities and What the Hell is in the Food. In order to tap into using one's magnet, I recommend being healthy. I continue to take a supplement of spirulina every day. I am able to focus better and do not spend time sweating the small stuff. In other words, spirulina helps with stress, besides being a good toxin eliminator. I do not take any prescriptive drugs. I seldom get sick and when I do it does not last that long. I know that as long as my body is stress-free, it will continue to be disease-free. I would recommend spirulina to anyone. It truly is a gift from Mother Nature. I purchase spirulina from http://www.iherb.com. This online warehouse of natural health products, more than 12,000 different products, offers the best value online. First-time customers can use the coupon code BEAR298 for taking $5 off their total purchase price. Below is more information about spirulina. Spirulina is a single-celled blue-green algae that contains 10 vitamins, 8 minerals, and 18 amino acids, essential and non-essential. It contains a complete protein of 65 to 71%, that is 12 to 15 times more protein than steak and is 5 times easier to digest than meat or soy protein. It has been found to help reduce weight, and help with many allergies, visual problems. My youngest daughter who suffers with glaucoma has low ocular pressure readings by consuming this food source, carbohydrate disorders, anemia and many other disease conditions. It also has many beneficial enzymes. Spirulina is the world's highest beta-carotene food, reducing long-term health risks. Spirulina beta-carotene is 10 times more concentrated than carrots. So even if you don't eat the recommended 4 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, most people eat only 1 to 2, including French fries. Get your natural beta-carotene insurance from spirulina to help support your body's defenses. Spirulina has a rare essential fatty acid that is a key to health. Gamma-linolenic acid, GLA, in mother's milk helps develop healthy babies. Studies show nutritional deficiencies can block GLA production in your body, so a good dietary source of GLA can be important. Spirulina is the only other whole food with GLA. Benefits of spirulina: 1. Fortifying. Spirulina boosts resistance and activates the body's natural defense mechanisms. You feel stronger and are better able to cope with the pressures of everyday life. In other words, it helps one cope with stress. 2. Restoring. Spirulina compensates for deficiencies in the diet and stimulates the metabolism. Your physical condition improves noticeably and you recover faster after exertion. 3. Cleansing. Spirulina promotes the body's natural cleansing processes. You feel better, more cheerful, and you have more energy. Maybe that's why I no longer have gingivitis. Maybe that's why I get over the flu and colds faster. Maybe that's why I have not taken any prescriptive medicine in more than a year. Additional facts about spirulina. Several years ago, the National Cancer Institute announced sulfolipids from blue-green algae like spirulina were remarkably active in test tube experiments against the AIDS virus. In 1993–95, research showed natural polysaccharides in spirulina increased T cell counts, strengthened the immune system and raised disease resistance in chickens, fish and mice. The animal feed industry is embracing spirulina as a new probiotic to replace overused antibiotic drugs in animal feeds. In 1994, a Russian patent was awarded for spirulina as a medicine for reducing allergic reactions from radiation in the children of GMOB, the rare essential fatty acid GLA, sulfolipids, glycolipids and polysaccharides. Its deep green color comes from its rainbow of natural pigments: chlorophyll, green, phycocyanin, blue, and carotenoids, orange, that harvest the sun's energy. Easy to digest so nutrients are absorbed quickly. Tests done by NASA found spirulina to be an excellent, compact space food for astronauts. 1 kilogram of spirulina is equivalent to 1,000 kgs of assorted vegetables. International health organizations have hailed spirulina as one of the greatest superfoods on Earth. Spirulina contains 8 essential amino acids: isoleucine, 4.13%, leucine, 5.80%, lysine, 4.00%, methionine, 2.17%, phenylalanine, 3.95%, threonine, 4.17%, tryptophan, 1.13%, valine, 6.00%, 10 non-essential amino acids: alanine, 5.82%, arginine, 5.98%, aspartic acid, 6.34%, cysteine, 0.67%, glutamic acid, 8.94%, histidine, 1.08%, proline, 2.97%, ceaine, 4.00%, tyrosine, 4.60%, 8 minerals: potassium, 15,400 mg/kg, calcium, 1,315 mg/kg, zinc, 39 mg/kg, magnesium, 1,915 mg/kg, selenium, 0.40 ppm, iron, 580 mg/kg, phosphorus, 8,942 mg/kg, pyridoxine or P6, mg/kg, biotin, 0.4 mg/kg, cobalamin or B12, 2 mg/kg. B12 is one of the most difficult of all vitamins to obtain from a plant source. Spirulina contains 250% more than beef or liver panthenous acid: 11 mg/kg, folic acid, 0.5 mg/kg, intositol, 350 mg/kg, niacin, 118 mg/kg, riboflavin or B2, 40 mg/kg, thiamine or B1, 55 mg/kg, tocopherol or VE, 190 mg/kg. Carotenoids produces vitamin A, alpha-carotene, beta-carotenes, anthophyllene, cryptoxanthine, and onzexanthin, lutein. Whatever the mind of man can conceive, it can achieve. W. Clement Stone. No matter what you want, it's much harder to manifest it if one's magnet is tarnished. Keeping a stress-free body is the necessary key in bringing yourself into the alignment of what you are asking for. Taking Sprueliner relieves stress and can be purchased for a lower price at http://www.iherb.com. Use the coupon code BEAR298 to get $5 off your total purchase price as a first-time customer. In conclusion, I wanted to share this with you about the other side. On August 5, 2008, my mother, Amy, passed away. A year and almost 1 month after my father had gone to the other side. Around Christmas time, I dreamed about her. She was sitting in a rocking chair. I asked what she was doing here. I was present when she passed away. I was present when she had her wake. I was present when her coffin was sealed. Mother looked up at me and said, "Anything is possible. Don't you know that?" Immediately, I woke up. I sat up in bed and whispered, "Yes, anything is possible." This book is dedicated to my father, Morris Brown, and to my mother, Amy Brown. Below is the only book my mother wrote. This book contains her wisdom and memories. Personal email, satinabrone@live.com. Website, http://www.illegatorbape.weebly.com